The alert klaxons wailed, a sound so alien and piercing it felt less like a warning and more like a tear in the fabric of reality itself. Admiral Thuron Vance, normally a picture of composure even in the gravest of crises, gripped the edge of his command console. His deep-sea bunker, the Titan's Hold, had been designed to withstand cataclysm, but no one had truly anticipated this. Above him, miles of ocean and rock shuddered as if the very planet was being torn asunder. "Status report!" Thuron's voice, usually a calm baritone, was sharp with urgency. "Sir, the surface communications array is gone," shouted Lieutenant Commander Alara Rin, her fingers flying across a holographic display. Multiple energy signatures detected, impacting every major planetary defense grid. They just appeared. Thuron watched the main view screen, which now showed a live feed from a high-altitude drone relayed through a secondary, long-range deep space satellite. What he saw defied belief. Massive, obsidian-black vessels, dwarfing terrestrial mountains, hung suspended over every major continental landmass. They were utterly silent, perfectly still, like monuments to an invading power that had merely decided to manifest. "They aren't responding to hails?" Thuron asked, though he already knew the answer. "Negative, sir. No known frequencies, no attempt at communication, just silence." Then the beams. A new wave of tremors rocked the bunker, a sickening lurch that threw several technicians from their seats. On the screen, a colossal vessel above what was once the sprawling capital city of Terra Prime unleashed a torrent of shimmering azure energy. It wasn't a blast, but a focused, continuous beam of pure annihilation. Where it touched, city blocks dissolved into incandescent vapor. Steel, concrete, and ancient monuments simply ceased to exist. Targeting priority, military installations, command centers, and orbital defense platforms, Alara reported, her voice strained. "They're systematic, surgical, they know exactly what they're hitting." Thuron's jaw tightened. Humanity's surface defenses, honed over centuries of internal conflict and recent collaborative efforts, were formidable. The orbital railgun platforms, the high-energy laser grids, the atmospheric fighter wings, all designed to repel any known threat. Yet against this, they were evaporating like dew. The assault was unbelievably fast, an overwhelming display of power the likes of which no intelligence agency had ever predicted. A junior ensign, pale and trembling, stammered, "Sir, reports coming in from other deep facilities. They're also under attack. Not directly, but ripple effects. The sheer force of their primary weapons is impacting subterranean structures." "Continue monitoring," Thuron ordered, forcing himself to breathe deeply. His gaze swept across the holographic map of Earth. Red warning lights, once flickering, were now extinguishing at an alarming rate. Each light represented a fallen defense grid, a silenced communication hub, a vanished military complex. The speed of the assault was horrifying. It was a planetary vivisection, precise and merciless. Barely 20 minutes after the first vessel appeared, the assault ceased. The colossal ships remained, ominous and unmoving, but the destructive beams powered down. A chilling, resonant voice, alien yet perfectly synthesized in every known human language, then boomed from every functioning comm channel, every orphaned public display screen on the surface. "People of this world, we are the vanguard hegemony. Your immediate resistance has been neutralized. Your military infrastructure has been dismantled. This world is now under our sovereign authority. Any further defiance will result in the complete purification of all biological life. You have 3 planetary rotations to accept your new stewardship." The message repeated, a chilling, triumphant declaration echoing across a shattered world. It was a pronouncement of utter victory, delivered with an arrogance born of countless successful conquests. The Vanguard had deemed Earth another swift acquisition, another testament to their undisputed might. Deep within the Titan's hold, the silence that followed the message was more deafening than the earlier chaos. Elara Rin looked at Thuron, her eyes wide with a mixture of disbelief and despair. "Sir, they truly believe it's over." Thuron's gaze was fixed on the holographic map. The surface glowed with the scars of destruction, but beneath, hundreds of smaller, almost imperceptible green lights still pulsed the deep network. He knew what the Vanguard didn't. They had conquered worlds before, worlds that put all their eggs in one surface-based, easily identifiable basket. They had never encountered a species that built its entire survival doctrine around the idea of enduring absolute, species-ending devastation. "No," Thuron murmured, a grim resolve settling on his features. "It's only just begun. Initiate Deep Network Protocol Gamma, get me every active facility, subterranean, suboceanic, even orbital dark sites. We need a full systems check now." Miles away, buried beneath layers of hardened granite and shielded by advanced stealth field generators, Dr. Aris Thorne squinted at the shattered screen of his personal terminal. The Nexus Laboratory, a classified research facility dedicated to theoretical physics and next-generation energy systems, had felt only a distant rumble. But the news feeds, flickering on and off, painted a grim picture. "The Vanguard hegemony," Aris muttered, his voice hoarse. "They're fast, too fast, but they're also predictable." His colleague, Dr. Jian Lai, a bioengineer with a perpetually worried expression, wrung his hands. "Predictable? Aris, they just reduced every major defense point on the planet to slag in less than half an hour. What's predictable about that?" Aris tapped a pen against his chin, his eyes, usually alight with intellectual curiosity, now narrowed in thought. "Their pattern of conquest, always direct, always overwhelming initial force. They shatter the visible military, then declare victory, assuming the conquered species will simply capitulate. It worked on the Xylos, the Cathar, every recorded species they've encountered. Because those species did capitulate," Jian exclaimed, gesturing wildly. "They didn't have a military left. Their governments were gone. Their people were in shock." "Precisely," Aris said, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips. "They never encountered the extreme environment adaptives. They never encountered humanity." He walked over to a bank of servers, his fingers already dancing across a holoscreen. "Jian, bring up the schematics for Project Chimera. The one we shelved last cycle, and prep the adaptive energy conduits. If my hunch is correct, we're about to have a very unique test subject." Jian stared at him. "Chimera, that's theoretical, untested. It could tear itself apart." "Or it could tear them apart," Aris countered, his eyes gleaming with a newfound determination. "They hit the surface, Jian. They hit the obvious. They assumed the brain was in the skull. They never considered that the nervous system runs far deeper. That our brain is a distributed network, capable of independent thought and, more importantly, independent retaliation." As the Vanguard's self-congratulatory message faded into silence, the Nexus Laboratory hummed to life with a different kind of energy. It was not the despair of defeat, but the quiet, focused intensity of a forge being readied for war. On the surface, amidst the smoldering ruins of what was once a bustling commercial district, Sergeant Kaylin Reyes wiped soot from her face. Her comms unit was dead, her squad scattered, and the sky was dominated by the alien behemoths. She was alone, armed with little more than her standard-issue rifle, and the grim determination that had carried her through a dozen brutal engagements. She had seen the beams. She had felt the ground tremble as structures a mile away vaporized. The speed, the sheer scale of the destruction was breathtaking in its terror, but Kaylin was no stranger to the abyss. She was a Shadow Stride operative, trained for deep reconnaissance and independent survival in conditions designed to break lesser individuals. Her specialty was fighting in the dark, where chaos was a weapon and unpredictability the ultimate defense. The alien declaration, booming from a cracked public address system down the street, made her scoff. "Neutralized," she whispered, the word a bitter taste on her tongue. "They think they just wiped us out. They think they've won." She ducked into the collapsed skeleton of a skyscraper, moving with practiced stealth through the debris. Overhead, smaller alien craft, reconnaissance drones by the look of them, began to descend. They were sleek, silent, and scanning the ruins with bright, intrusive beams of light. The occupation had begun. Kalen knew their tactics. They would land ground units, establish perimeters, then begin their purification or stewardship, sanitized terms for subjugation. They would be looking for large pockets of survivors, organized resistance. They would not be looking for one lone operative, a ghost in the rubble, who still remembered every single one of their training drills. She reached a hidden cache she had established weeks ago as part of a contingency plan, a dead drop for extreme scenarios. Inside, she found a suppressed rifle, a handful of specialized munitions, and, most importantly, a robust, encrypted satellite comms array designed for deep reconnaissance. It was low power, meant for burst transmissions, but it was a lifeline. She set it up quickly, hidden amongst the shattered remains of a civilian transport vehicle. The silence was absolute, save for the distant hum of alien craft. She initiated the emergency beacon, a coded signal meant only for other Shadow Stride units and the deepest command centers. The response was almost immediate, a faint, almost imperceptible ping. It wasn't a broadcast, but a direct, encrypted signal. A single word appearing on her small, robust display. "Received." Kalen felt a surge of cold fury mixed with a chilling yet powerful sense of purpose. They had underestimated humanity. They had looked at the surface, at the obvious, and declared victory. They had never considered the true depth of human resilience, the sheer, obstinate refusal to yield that defined the extreme environment adaptives. The arrogance of the vanguard was a profound flaw, a blind spot in their otherwise flawless conquest strategy. They had never fought a foe whose primary strategy was survival, and whose retaliation would come not as a counterpunch, but as an insidious, planetary-wide infection. The alien ground forces began to deploy small, armored teams descending from the hovering carriers. They moved with a confident, almost leisurely pace, their energy weapons held loosely. They expected no challenge, merely a broken, shattered world ready for processing. Kalen watched them from her hiding spot, a grim smile forming on her lips. They were about to learn that humanity was not conquered. They were simply waking up, and when humanity woke up, it was never a gentle affair. Her finger traced the outlines of her rifle's grip. The invasion had lasted 20 minutes. The retaliation was about to last a whole lot longer. In the secure depths of the Titan's hold, Admiral Thuron Vance received the first wave of incoming pings. Green lights bloomed across the deep network map, hundreds of them, confirming active facilities, surviving personnel, and operational readiness. The sheer scale of the surviving infrastructure, designed over generations for just such an unimaginable scenario, was a testament to humanity's paranoia, its grim foresight, and its unshakable belief that no matter the foe, humanity would endure. "Contact with Nexus Lab confirmed," Alara Rin reported, her voice laced with a renewed sense of hope. "Dr. Thorne's team is active. They're requesting access to Project Chimera's theoretical schematics and a full energy matrix review." "Grant it," Thuron ordered without hesitation. Thorne was unorthodox, brilliant, and exactly the kind of mind they needed now. "Also, scattered Shadow Stride unit beacons are coming online," Alara continued, pointing to a cluster of new green lights on the surface map, almost invisible amidst the red scars of destruction. "Sergeant Reyes' unit is one of them. They're reporting minimal alien ground force deployment, currently focused on establishing initial perimeters." Thuron nodded, a spark of grim satisfaction in his eyes. The Vanguard were so confident in their devastating first strike that they were sending in light, unprepared occupation forces. A fatal error. "Good," Thuron said, his voice now strong and steady. "They think they've cut off the head of the snake. They don't realize the snake has thousands of independent venom sacs, each waiting to strike." He looked at the assembled officers and technicians, their faces still etched with the horror of what had happened, but now also alight with a flicker of defiance. "We lost the first round. We lost it brutally, but this is not how it ends. This is where we show them why you don't conquer Earth in 20 minutes. The air in the bunker crackled with newfound purpose. The initial shock had given way to a simmering rage, a collective resolve that hardened with every passing moment. The Vanguard hegemony had broadcast its victory to the stars, confident that Earth was merely another notch on its cosmic belt. They had not accounted for humanity's stubborn, impossible will to survive, or its genius for adapting, innovating, and hitting back when least expected. The 20-minute invasion had merely been the prelude. The true conflict, a war fought from the shadows and depths against an overconfident and unprepared enemy, was just about to begin. Humanity, heck yeah. Are you ready to see Earth fight back? What do you think the Vanguard hegemony truly overlooked about humanity? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for part 2. The Vanguard hegemony's ground forces descended, a legion of armored figures clad in dark, shimmering exoskeletons, their energy rifles held with casual confidence. They expected to find a shattered, broken world, its inhabitants cowering in fear, ready for swift processing into a compliant workforce. Their initial deployments were light, reconnaissance teams spreading out from colossal landing ships that now dotted the ruined landscapes. They were precise, efficient, and utterly unprepared for what awaited them. Sergeant Kalen Reyes watched the first patrol move through the skeletal remains of a data processing center. 6 aliens, their movements fluid despite their heavy armor, swept their ocular sensors across the rubble. They paused, scanned, then moved on, missing the minute shifts in debris that marked Kalen's presence. She had moved through this labyrinth of shattered concrete and twisted rebar for weeks, memorizing every shadow, every echo. This was her hunting ground. Her suppressed rifle found its target, a weak point she had observed in their armor's articulation, the narrow joint at the knee. The tungsten-tipped round, designed to punch through hardened materials, sheared through the alien's leg joint with a wet crunch. It staggered, then went down, its energy rifle discharging harmlessly into the sky. Before its comrades could react, Kalen shifted, her next shot finding the gap between the helmet and the neck plating of another. 2 down in less than 3 seconds. The remaining 4 reacted with a slow, almost bewildered confusion. Their training protocols clearly did not account for targets that appeared from nowhere and disappeared just as quickly. They fired wildly, blue energy beams tearing through the concrete pillars around them, but Kalen was already gone, melting back into the shadows. This wasn't a battle for open ground. This was a war of ghosts and whispers, fought in the deep scars of Earth. Her comms array, now linked to the deep network, buzzed with a faint, static-laced signal. It was a tactical update from Admiral Thuron Vance in the Titan's hold. Shadow-stride units maintain dispersal, exploit urban terrain, avoid direct engagement unless absolutely necessary. Priority: intelligence gathering, disruption. Do not reveal our full capabilities. Kalen grunted in affirmation, a grim smile touching her lips. The aliens thought they were hunting survivors. They were about to discover they were being hunted. In the Nexus laboratory, Dr. Eris Thorne hunched over a holographic schematic of Project Chimera. The design was complex, a theoretical construct for a multispectrum resonance emitter, capable of generating incredibly precise, localized energy fields. It had been shelved for its perceived impracticality, deemed too unstable for field deployment. Now, it was humanity's most desperate hope. The Vanguard's energy shields, Eris explained to Dr. Jian Lai, who was frantically adjusting energy conduits. They operate on a surprisingly narrow frequency band. They prioritize raw power over adaptability. That's their weakness. Jian wiped sweat from his brow. And Chimera, it can hit that frequency. Not just hit it, resonate with it. Create an opposing waveform that destabilizes it from within. Think of it like a perfectly tuned opera singer hitting a note that shatters a glass. Except the glass is a multi-gigajoule energy shield. Eris's eyes, usually filled with detached curiosity, now burned with intense focus. The challenge is deployment. It requires a massive, instantaneous energy spike and precise targeting. A single Chimera unit could theoretically collapse the shield of a Vanguard capital ship, but it would tear itself apart in the process. Jian's face fell. So it's a suicide weapon? Not necessarily, Eris countered, tapping a series of commands. What if we don't use a single unit? What if we use a distributed network of smaller, synchronized emitters, each contributing a fraction of the necessary power? A synchronized resonance burst, firing from multiple hidden points. Jian blinked. Like a choir of glass-shattering singers? Eris nodded, a rare, excited grin spreading across his face. Precisely. We could deploy hundreds, thousands of these smaller emitters, hidden in the ruins, deep underground, even on our surviving suboceanic platforms. The collective pulse, perfectly synchronized, would be devastating to their shield integrity, but untraceable to a single source. It would appear as a spontaneous, inexplicable shield failure. The idea was audacious, requiring unimaginable coordination and power distribution. But in the Titan's hold, Admiral Theron Vance was already tackling exactly those problems. Reports from the surface began to trickle into the Titan's hold, filtered through the deep network. Ensign Lena Petrova, a young comms specialist, meticulously updated the holographic map. Sir, multiple Vanguard ground patrols have been neutralized in what appears to be uncoordinated hit-and-run engagements. Sergeant Reyes' last reported contact indicated 6 alien hostiles taken out in Sector Gamma, with no human casualties. Similar reports coming in from other Shadow Stride units in scattered urban zones. Theron watched the red dots on the map, alien ground units, flicker and disappear, replaced by small, pulsing green markers indicating human presence. Uncoordinated, is that truly the assessment? Their tactical logs indicate a complete lack of discernible patterns, sir, Lena clarified. They report attacks from above below through collapsed structures. They perceive the resistance as scattered, desperate, individual acts of defiance from survivors. They aren't registering it as an organized military response. A grim satisfaction settled over Theron. This was the core of humanity's survival doctrine: distributed, unpredictable, adaptable. Excellent. Maintain that illusion. Keep them focused on isolated pockets of resistance. Elara, connect me to the Nexus Lab, Doctor. Thorn, what's the status of Project Chimera? Aris Thorn's holographic image appeared, slightly blurred. Admiral, we've made a significant theoretical leap. We believe a distributed network of Chimera emitters, precisely synchronized, could generate the necessary resonance to collapse their energy shields. It would require tapping into the deep network's full energy matrix, but it is plausible. Theron's eyes narrowed. Plausible? Give me specifics. How many emitters? What's the energy cost? Deployment timeline? Hundreds, perhaps thousands of micro-emitters, Aris explained, his voice gaining momentum. They're small, no larger than a human fist, cheap to produce if we can repurpose industrial fabricators. Energy cost is immense for each individual pulse, but collectively, the deep network can handle it. Deployment, that's the bottleneck. Getting them into position, synchronizing them across continents. Weeks, possibly months. Weeks or months we don't have, Thuron stated flatly. The hegemony won't remain complacent once they realize their ground forces aren't making progress. They'll escalate. We need a tactical demonstration, a proof of concept. One big target. The orbital vessels, sir? Aris asked, his brow furrowing. The primary capital ships. We'd need thousands of these arrayed perfectly. Too risky, too long. Not the orbital vessels, Thuron corrected. They're ground forces. They're armored vehicles, they're landing ships. If Chimera can collapse their localized shield generators, even for a split second, it creates a window. A window for what we do best. Conventional, brutal, overwhelming force. On the surface, Commander Z, the hegemony ground commander for the terrestrial occupation, paced his temporary command center, a prefabricated dome erected in the ruins of what was once a grand city park. His tactical display, usually a seamless map of conquest, flickered with unsettling anomalies. Report on ground resistance? Z barked, his alien vocalizer producing a grating sound. Commander, scattered hostile engagements continue, reported his aide, a subordinate named XY. Estimated 27% casualty rate among forward patrols in Sector Delta. Hostiles utilize urban terrain, refuse direct engagement. Primitive projectile weapons are effective when they bypass armor. They are elusive. Elusive? Z's primary mandibles clicked in irritation. This world was neutralized, their military eradicated. How can a species whose technological development we classified as early interstellar be causing such friction? Their data indicates a unique adaptation to extreme environments, Commander, XY explained, referencing a holographic scroll. Their planetary history is marked by constant internal conflict and natural cataclysms. They built their infrastructure with deep redundancy. Their previous military strategy involved highly distributed, autonomous units. Our analysis indicated a centralized command structure, which we successfully decapitated, but it appears they possess decentralized resilience. Z slammed a clawed fist on his console. Decentralized resilience? Nonsense! Such a strategy is inefficient, primitive. They should be broken. Bring in the heavy units. Deploy 3 armored assault carriers into Sector Gamma. Initiate Purification Protocol Zeta. Any human presence is to be suppressed with extreme prejudice. No more isolated skirmishes. We crush this resilience now. The ground trembled as 3 massive Vanguard armored assault carriers, squat and heavily shielded, began their descent from the primary orbital vessels. Each one was a mobile fortress, bristling with multi-frequency energy cannons and designed to flatten any resistance. They landed with a bone-jarring impact, their shields shimmering with an almost tangible force field. Kalen Reyes, leading a small, impromptu squad of surviving Shadowstride operatives and resourceful civilians, watched the carriers land from a shattered building. "That's new," she murmured. "They're escalating. They're annoyed." "Annoyed means dangerous, Sarge," whispered Private Jin Lai, a former demolitions expert turned urban scout. "Those things are walking fortresses. Our standard rounds won't scratch those shields." "Precisely," Kalen said. Then her comms unit buzzed. It was Admiral Thuron Vance. "Sergeant Reyes, prepare for a coordinated strike. Nexus Lab has a prototype. Project Chimera. We're going to give those carriers a taste of human ingenuity. We need 3 Chimera units positioned around the lead carrier in Sector Gamma. Can you acquire them and deploy them covertly?" "Affirmative, Admiral. Where are they?" "Hidden in a sublevel beneath what was the central power grid, 2 clicks west of your current position. Dr. Thorne's team is prepping them for immediate deployment. You'll receive an encrypted data packet with precise coordinates and activation instructions. You have 45 minutes. 45 minutes to get to a power grid, retrieve 3 untested devices, and place them around a fully shielded alien tank that probably has its own tactical sensors. Jin's voice was incredulous. Kaylin grinned, a flash of white in her soot-stained face. "Sounds like a Monday, Jin. Let's move." At the Nexus lab, the air thrummed with a nervous energy. Eris, Thorn, and Jian Lai worked at a furious pace, calibrating the 3 Chimera prototypes. They were larger than expected, resembling sleek black obelisks, each about the size of a human torso. "Power conduits confirmed," Jian announced, his hands flying across a control panel. "Energy matrix tied into the deep network. Admiral Vance is diverting maximum available power." "Synchronization protocols confirmed," Eris added, running a diagnostic. "These 3 units, firing in perfect unison, should generate a resonance field sufficient to collapse the lead carrier's shield for approximately 3.7 seconds. That's our window. After that, they'll overload." "One shot?" "3.7 seconds," Jian repeated, swallowing hard. "That's not much time." "It's all we need," Eris replied, a glint in his eye. "Humanity does its best work under pressure." Kaylin's team moved like phantoms through the ruined cityscape. The Chimera units were heavy, requiring 2 operatives to carry each one, but the urgency of the mission fueled them. They reached the designated drop points with minutes to spare, alien patrols passing by within meters, oblivious to the strange devices being carefully placed in the rubble. "Units are in position, Admiral," Kaylin whispered into her comms. "Awaiting synchronization signal." In the Titan's hold, Thuron Vance looked at the tactical map. 3 small green lights pulsed around the largest red marker, the lead armored assault carrier. Around them, hundreds of smaller green dots, shadow-stride units, scattered civilians, and even former emergency services personnel were taking up positions, armed with whatever they could salvage. "Admiral, Dr. Thorn is requesting the activation command," Ilara Rin reported, her finger hovering over a console button. Thuron took a deep breath. This was it, the first true counterpunch. "Admiral Vance, to all active ground units, prepare for immediate engagement. Focus fire on the lead carrier the moment its shields drop. Make it count." His voice, broadcast across the deep network, reached thousands of hidden ears. On the surface, human hands gripped salvaged rifles, improvised explosive devices, and even ancient, well-maintained hunting bows. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched in technology, but they were not outfought. "Dr. Thorn," Thuron said, his voice ringing with resolve. "Initiate Project Chimera, now." At the Nexus lab, Eris Thorn pressed the activation button. A faint, almost inaudible hum filled the chamber. On the surface, the 3 Chimera units, hidden in the rubble, pulsed with a deep, emerald light. The light intensified, then erupted outwards in a synchronized, invisible wave of resonant energy. The Vanguard assault carrier, its shields of vibrant blue, suddenly wavered. The energy shimmered, flickered, then collapsed, tearing apart with an audible crack that reverberated through the ruins. The massive vehicle was suddenly exposed, its thick plating vulnerable. "Shields down!" Kaylin screamed into her comms, and the world erupted. From every hidden vantage point, from shattered windows and collapsed subway entrances, a torrent of human projectiles erupted. Not energy blasts, but a storm of metal. Rifle rounds, high-caliber sniper fire, explosive charges, even salvaged anti-tank rockets, all slammed into the exposed carrier. The aliens had never conceived of a foe that would rely on such crude, yet effective, munitions after a technological neutralization. The lead carrier, designed to withstand energy fire, buckled under the sustained, multi-directional physical assault. Armor plates groaned, systems sparked, and a secondary explosion tore through its primary weapon array. It wasn't a clean, surgical strike. It was a furious, messy, and utterly human act of defiance. Commander Z, watching in horror from his command center, slammed his hand on his console. "Report the armored carrier. Its shields were at full integrity. How could this happen?" XY, his aide, stared at the flickering tactical display. "Commander, analysis indicates a localized energy disruption, a resonance pulse, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. We cannot trace the source. The humans are using primitive kinetic weapons, yet they are effective. The carrier is disintegrating." The lead armored assault carrier, moments ago an impenetrable fortress, now listed dangerously, its internal systems rupturing. A final, cataclysmic explosion ripped through its core, turning it into a mountain of burning wreckage. The silence that followed was broken only by the distant crackle of flames. On the holographic map in the Titan's hold, the largest red marker had vanished. Thuron Vance looked at Alara Rin, a grim smile on his face. One down. But the aliens were not defeated. Commander Z's voice, now laced with fury, and a hint of something new confusion boomed across the hegemony's internal comms, unknowingly picked up by Kevin Walsh's hidden data center. "This cannot stand. This defiance is illogical. This planet is an anomaly. Initiate full planetary lockdown, dispatch all available ground forces, and send an immediate Priority 1 distress signal to the home fleet. Inform them the terrestrial invasion is not proceeding as planned. Reinforcements are required immediately." His voice, usually a cold, calculating monotone, now carried a distinct tremor of panic. The home fleet, weeks away, was now being called upon to deal with an unforeseen problem. The 20-minute invasion was over. The real war was just beginning, and humanity had just shown the vanguard hegemony that sometimes the greatest weakness of an overwhelming force is its inability to grasp the sheer, stubborn, beautiful insanity of a species that simply refuses to lose. The vanguard hegemony had conquered 47 worlds, but they had never encountered the sheer, unbridled fury of Earth. What new horrors will they unleash now that they know humanity truly fights back? Find out in the next thrilling installment. Don't miss a single moment of this epic struggle. Hit that subscribe button and join our rapidly growing community of Earth defenders. Commander Z's primary optical sensors flared with disbelief. The tactical display, once a pristine tableau of conquered territory, now blared a crimson alert. Armored assault carrier Vengeance destroyed. Its energy signature, a beacon of hegemony might, had simply ceased to exist, swallowed by a massive, uncontrolled detonation. "Impossible," Z's vocalizer shrieked, a sound unheard in the annals of hegemony conquest. "Their technology is primitive, their military dismantled. How could they achieve such a devastating strike against a shielded asset?" XY, his aide, a smaller, more nimble alien of the Xylo's auxiliary corps, quivered slightly. "Commander, our analysis indicates a localized energy disruption, an unprecedented resonance pulse that momentarily nullified the Vengeance's shield matrix. Followed by kinetic projectiles, Commander. Thousands of them. High-velocity, directed impacts." Z's mandibles clicked furiously. "Kinetic projectiles, against our hardened armor, that is an archaic methodology. It is illogical. Deploy all remaining armored units. Every available assault carrier is to converge on Sector Gamma. Initiate purification protocol Omega. No more skirmishes. This resistance must be ground into dust, and send a Priority 1 distress signal. Inform the home fleet that the terrestrial pacification is encountering unforeseen variables. Reinforcements are required immediately." The tremor in Z's voice was unmistakable. For the first time, a shadow of doubt, perhaps even fear, crept into the hegemony's cold, calculated efficiency. Earth was proving to be an anomaly, a variable that defied all their perfected conquest algorithms. In the Titan's hold, Admiral Thuron Vance observed the unfolding chaos on the hegemony's internal comms, relayed by Dr. Kevin Walsh's relentless data sifting. Commander Z's panic was a sweet symphony. "They're escalating. Thuron noted, his voice calm amidst the renewed bustle of the bunker. Z is throwing everything he has at Sector Gamma. 6 more armored carriers are inbound. This is their brute force response. They don't understand finesse. Ilara Rin, her face alight with triumph, updated the map. Ground units reporting readiness, sir. Sergeant Reyes' team and dozens of other Shadowstride operatives are coordinating with local survivor groups. They're improvising, adapting. Former engineers are rigging demolitions. Old hunters are setting traps. Even some civilian hobbyists are deploying repurposed drone swarms. Excellent, Thuron affirmed. Dr. Thorne, how quickly can we replicate the Chimera units? We'll need more than 3 for this next wave. Eris Thorne's holographic image appeared, his hair disheveled, but his eyes blazing with exhilaration. Admiral, the Nexus Lab has repurposed an automated fabrication line. We're churning out micro-emitters. They're small, Admiral, but thousands of them, deployed across a wide area, could generate a collective resonance pulse that would bring down the entire orbital fleet's shields, given precise coordination. Thousands? Thuron's brow furrowed. Deployment on that scale for orbital targets is impossible. We lack the means to deliver them. Our airfields are compromised and our surface fleet is gone. Not entirely, Admiral, interjected Dr. Lena Petrova, the comms specialist, her voice echoing the excitement. Incoming reports from Suboceanic Command. Admiral Maria Santos is readying her submarine fleet. They've been coordinating with the newly online hidden naval fabrication yards. Project Deep Lance is ahead of schedule. Thuron's eyes widened. Deep Lance, the modified atmospheric-capable torpedoes. Are they ready for field testing? Affirmative, sir, Maria Santos's confident voice cut in. Her image, projected from the depths, was crisp and resolute. We've refined the propulsion system. They can travel through the ocean, breach the surface, and continue trajectory into the lower atmosphere. We can deploy them from concealed launch tubes on our submarines. We believe they can reach the orbital vessels from underwater positions. Eris Thorne snapped his fingers. Admiral, if Admiral Santos's Deep Lances can reach the orbital ships, we can integrate micro-chimera emitters into the warheads. A swarm of silent, subsurface projectiles, each carrying a shield-collapsing resonance emitter. It would be a distributed, undetectable strike. The implications hung in the air, breathtaking in their audacity. Humanity was not just fighting back on the ground. They were about to launch a full-spectrum counterattack from the depths of their own planet. Admiral Santos, Thuron ordered, his voice gaining a steely edge. Prepare your fleet. Dr. Thorne, prepare the Chimera-integrated warheads. Ilara, focus all available deep network resources on coordinating this. We are moving from disruption to destruction. Target priority, the smallest, most isolated orbital vessel. We need a clear demonstration. On the surface, Commander Z's patience was wearing thin. The human resistance, as his tactical officers now reluctantly termed it, was baffling. His armored carriers were making slow progress through the urban ruins. They were encountering cunningly placed obstacles, unexpected ambushes, and their highly advanced sensors were being constantly jammed by what appeared to be primitive, localized electronic warfare. This is not logical, Z roared, his oculars scanning the latest casualty reports. Another assault carrier, Retribution, was heavily damaged, not destroyed, but effectively neutralized by a relentless barrage of conventional, non-energy kinetic weaponry. Their tactics are unconventional. They evade direct confrontation, lure our units into confined spaces, then strike from multiple vectors with devastatingly simple armaments. It is the strategy of vermin. XY, ever the analyst, projected new data. Commander, our intercept analysis of their low-frequency comms indicates a highly distributed, non-hierarchical command structure. They are not acting as a single army, but as a collective consciousness. Each unit appears to operate with a high degree of autonomy, yet contribute to a greater unified objective. It is unlike any species we have conquered. Their resilience is organic. Z dismissed the analysis with a dismissive wave. Primitive, unrefined, they will break. Deploy the Sky Strikers, 2 squadrons, target any confirmed human concentrations, purify these vermin from the air. Above the ruined cities, sleek, V-shaped hegemony Sky Strikers, typically used for orbital superiority, descended into the atmosphere. Their undersides bristled with rapid-fire plasma cannons designed to clear large areas of organic life. This was the hegemony's scorched earth response, a blunt declaration that the ground battle was not proceeding to their satisfaction. Kaelin Reyes looked up as the Sky Strikers descended, their dark forms cutting through the smoke-laden sky. "New toys," she muttered, ducking into a reinforced subway entrance. "Air support, they're getting serious." "Sarge, our anti-air assets are minimal," Jin Lai warned, clutching his modified rifle. "Even if we had a clear shot, our kinetic rounds won't touch those things." "No," Kaelin agreed, a glint in her eye, "but perhaps something else will." Her comms unit buzzed. "Sergeant Reyes, this is Admiral Vance. Get your teams to designated deep cover. The Sky Strikers are about to receive a surprise. Tell your people to look up." Deep beneath the ocean, Admiral Maria Santos surveyed her fleet. 15 nuclear submarines, once humanity's silent deterrent, were now humanity's invisible spear. Each vessel had been retrofitted with Chimera-integrated deep lances, their warheads glowing with a faint, internal light. "Deep strike command to all units," Maria's voice was calm, utterly focused. "Synchronized launch parameters, target acquisition confirmed, 2 Hegemony Sky Striker squadrons currently engaging ground targets in terrestrial sector Gamma. Maintain acoustic silence until launch." In the control room, sonar screens showed the faint, almost imperceptible blips of the Hegemony air units. The deep lances were designed for this, silent, subsurface predators. "Ready to fire, Admiral," her lead weapons officer reported. "Fire all tubes. Coordinated launch on my mark." "Mark." 15 submarines around the globe unleashed their payloads. Modified nuclear torpedoes, streamlined and deadly, shot through the water with impossible speed. As they broke the surface, their secondary atmospheric thrusters ignited, propelling them upwards into the lower atmosphere. They were not designed for space combat, but for a short, violent journey to disrupt atmospheric targets. The Hegemony Sky Strikers, designed for elegance and overwhelming power from above, were completely unprepared for an attack from below. The Sky Strikers, sweeping over the ruins, suddenly flickered. Their shields, designed for orbital dogfights and ground suppression, were momentarily overwhelmed by the simultaneous resonance pulse from the Chimera-integrated deep lances. The Sky Strikers' internal systems flared red, their plasma cannons sputtering. Then, the kinetic force of the deep lances hit. Not an energy explosion, but pure, concentrated impact. The sleek alien craft, designed to deflect energy, were ripped apart by the sheer physical trauma. 2 Sky Strikers, then another, spiraled out of control. Their graceful forms transformed into flaming debris. Kaelin Reyes, watching from her cover, allowed herself a rare, triumphant smile. "Guess they didn't account for the fish." Commander Z, in his rapidly deteriorating command center, screamed. "What now? Their ground units are using primitive weapons. Their air assets are being destroyed from below the ocean. This is madness. Their entire military doctrine is anathema to our conquest protocols. They are savages." His aide, XY, looked increasingly bewildered. "Commander, their tactical responses are too diverse. They are not following any known conquest resistance pattern. They adapt too quickly. Their ability to improvise is unprecedented." Z's mandibles clicked, a grinding sound of pure frustration. He had conquered 47 worlds, each with predictable military structures, each capitulating when the obvious strength was removed. Earth was different. Earth was a hydra. Cutting off one head only resulted in more smaller, more tenacious heads appearing. Admiral Vance, Dr. Aris Thorne's voice was almost giddy from the Nexus lab. The deep lances were a success. Their atmospheric shields are vulnerable. We can scale this. We can target the orbital ships. Not yet, Dr. Thorne, Thuron cautioned, though a triumphant glint was in his eyes. We only have a limited number of deep lances. We need to reserve them for the main event, and Z just sent a Priority 1 distress signal. We need to assume the home fleet is now aware of the anomaly that is Earth. But deep within the hegemony's secured communication channels, Dr. Kevin Walsh had just made a chilling discovery. His hidden data center, a ghost in the alien network, had intercepted the reply to Z's distress call. The home fleet was indeed aware, and their response was not one of caution, but of anger. Admiral Vance, Kevin's voice was strained, raw with urgency. I've intercepted a direct communication from the Hegemony High Command. Their home fleet isn't weeks away, it's been rerouted. They're accelerating, and they're not sending reinforcements, they're sending an eradication fleet. They've designated Earth a red zone planetary purge target. Estimated arrival, 72 hours. The jubilant atmosphere in the Titan's hold evaporated. 72 hours. 3 days until a full-scale species extermination fleet arrived. The 20-minute invasion had become a 3-day countdown to ultimate destruction. Humanity had won the first round, but the true nightmare was just beginning. The aliens had been arrogant, but now they were angry. And an angry hegemony was a far more terrifying foe. Can humanity stand against an entire eradication fleet designed to wipe them from existence? The clock is ticking, and the stakes have never been higher. Don't miss a single moment of this epic struggle. Hit that subscribe button and join our rapidly growing community of Earth defenders. Plus, did you know that Admiral Vance's bunker, the Titan's hold, was originally designed to survive a supernova? It might just come in handy. The 72-hour countdown had vanished, swallowed by the cold, infinite void of space. In the Titan's hold, Admiral Thuron Vance stood before the immense holographic display, his face grim, yet resolute. The green lights of Earth's deep network pulsed with an almost feverish intensity, a testament to humanity's readiness. But above, a new, far more terrifying storm was brewing. Admiral, long-range scans confirmed the eradication fleet's arrival, Elara Rin reported, her voice hushed. 27 capital ships, over 300 support vessels, thousands of orbital fighters, their energy signatures are unprecedented. On the main view screen, the image resolved. The Vanguard hegemony's true might materialized from the dark, a literal wall of starships, vast, obsidian leviathans bristling with weaponry. This was no advanced force. This was a cleansing armada designed to turn worlds into sterile dust. Their silent, deliberate approach was more menacing than any immediate volley of fire. They arrived not to conquer, but to eliminate. They are broadcasting a full-spectrum purge order across all known hegemony channels, Lena Petrova added, her voice tight. Designation: Terra, Category Alpha Naught, total biological sterilization, no survivors, no captured resources. Thuron's jaw tightened. They wanted to erase humanity, to scrub Earth clean of the anomaly that had dared to defy them. "Let them come," he murmured, his gaze sweeping across the faces of his command team, each reflecting a mixture of dread and defiant resolve. "This is it, final phase. Admiral Santos, what's your fleet status?" From the suboceanic depths, Maria Santos's voice cut through the tension, clear and unwavering. "Deep Lance Array is fully charged, Admiral. Every submarine in position. Chimera integrated warheads are primed and locked. We have over 1,000 Deep Lances ready for simultaneous launch. Target acquisition confirmed on all 27 capital ships. and 55 primary support vessels. "Excellent," Thuron responded, a sliver of grim satisfaction piercing through the gravity of the moment. "Dr. Thorne, Project Chimera's planetary resonance capabilities." Aris Thorne's holographic image appeared, his eyes wide with an almost manic excitement. "Admiral, the deep network is pumping out every available erg of energy. We've configured a global resonance field. The moment Maria's deep lances initiate localized shield collapse, we'll hit the entire fleet with a multi-frequency pulse. It won't destroy their ships, but it will momentarily blind and disrupt every single one of their internal systems. Their command and control will vanish." "Dr. Walsh," Thuron continued, "your network sabotage." Kevin Walsh's voice, raspy from 72 hours of ceaseless work, was triumphant. "Admiral, I've saturated their command frequencies with false data, looped distress signals, and phantom targets. Their internal comms are a mess. When Thorne's pulse hits, their entire network will collapse into digital chaos. They won't know who's where or what's happening or which way is up." "And our surface forces?" Thuron asked, turning his attention to the ground. From the heart of the ruins, Kalen Ray's voice crackled, laced with a hardened edge. "Admiral, every available Shadow Stride unit, every survivor group, every repurposed tactical vehicle is in position. We've prepped the ruins. Traps, ambushes, converted alien tech. Commander Z's remaining ground forces are boxed in. They won't be escaping, and no new landing parties will find a clear path." Major Tony Phillips, coordinating the international ground forces, added, "Global command centers confirm readiness. The unified human forces are prepared to meet any landing party with overwhelming, unexpected force. They will be swarmed from every direction." Thuron nodded slowly. "All right, this is it. Admiral Santos, on my mark, fire." Deep beneath the world's oceans, 1,000 silent eruptions occurred. A colossal network of nuclear submarines unleashed their coordinated barrage. Streamlined forms, glowing faintly with emerald light, shot upwards through the crushing depths, breaching the surface with geysers of displaced water. They continued their ascent, accelerating into the lower atmosphere with incredible speed, vectors converging on the hegemony's eradication fleet. The alien commander, a being of pure logic and cold calculation known as Prime Strategist Xylos, observed the Earth from his flagship, the Annihilation's heart. "Incredible," he rumbled, his voice a low thrum through his bridge. "This world shows a defiance previously unrecorded. But defiance is inefficient. Prepare primary weapon conduits, planetary purification in 60 seconds. His tactical display showed no incoming threats from the planet's surface or orbital space. The primitive species had no space navy. No orbital defense grids remained. His fleet was utterly dominant. Then a flicker. A brief, almost imperceptible shimmer across the shields of a forward-deployed capital ship, followed by another and another, not from above or from orbit, but from below. Incoming contacts, thousands of them, from the planet's suboceanic regions. A frantic sensor officer shrieked. "They are small, fast, and they are resonating. Shields are failing." Before Prime Strategist Xylos could issue an order, the 1,000 deep lances, each carrying a Chimera emitter, struck simultaneously. The hegemony's shields, designed to absorb and disperse high-energy weapon impacts, were not built for a resonance that tore them apart from within. They collapsed in a blinding flash, leaving the colossal capital ships utterly exposed. The moment the shields dissolved, a global, invisible wave of energy erupted from Earth itself. Aris Thorne's planetary resonance pulse washed over the hegemony fleet. On the bridge of the Annihilation's heart, lights flickered, consoles died, and the terrifying hum of the ship's primary weapons sputtered into silence. Prime Strategist Xylos' optical sensors flared, then dimmed, his internal systems temporarily overwhelmed. "Systems down." A dozen panicked voices screamed across the bridge. Communications lost. Tactical displays offline. We are blind. We are deaf. Kevin Walsh's digital chaos bloomed. False alarms blared, internal systems short-circuited, and ancient, forgotten hegemony fleet codes flooded their comms, confusing their automated responses. And then, Earth attacked. From hidden airfields across the continents, humanity's unified air forces roared into the sky. Thousands of refitted atmospheric fighters, bombers, and assault craft, many equipped with repurposed alien tech or newly designed kinetic munitions, swarmed the now helpless hegemony fleet. These were not fragile aerospace fighters. These were hardened combat platforms, piloted by humans who knew every trick in the book, every maneuver that defied alien logic. "This is Sky Strike Command," Jennifer Davis's voice bellowed across the human comms. "Target the largest vessels, focus fire on any visible weapon arrays, hit them where they stand." The human aircraft, moving with a speed and agility that baffled the recovering hegemony pilots, dove into the fray. Their kinetic weapons, rounds of dense metal traveling at hypersonic speeds, tore through the unshielded alien hulls. Explosions blossomed across the black forms of the hegemony ships, turning their sleek, imposing profiles into burning wrecks. Simultaneously, a global ground assault began. Commander Z's remaining forces, trapped and disoriented by the chaos in orbit, found themselves utterly surrounded. From every shadow, from every pile of rubble, humanity emerged. Not just soldiers, but a unified force of resourceful survivors, armed with modified rifles, improvised explosives, and a boundless, furious will to survive. Kalen raises Shadow Stride teams, augmented by thousands of civilians who had learned to fight in the ruins, systematically dismantled the alien patrols. They used the Vanguard's own arrogance against them, luring them into choke points, then unleashing a relentless hail of tungsten-cored projectiles and precisely placed demolition charges. "They're breaking," Kalen screamed, her voice hoarse, as an alien armored vehicle flipped, its internal power core erupting. "Commander Z's units are in full retreat. Do not let them reach their landing zones." On the bridge of the Annihilation's heart, Prime Strategist Xylos's systems flickered back to life, only to show him a nightmare. His fleet was engulfed in a storm of primitive kinetic weapons. Ships, designed to withstand the fury of stars, were being torn apart by mere projectiles. His tactical display showed multiple capital ships already fallen, spiraling, burning, raining debris onto the world below. His ground forces were being systematically eradicated. "Impossible," Xylos shrieked. "Their technology is inferior. Their tactics are barbaric. This defies all known conquest parameters." He watched as another capital ship, the harbinger of end, succumbed to a concentrated barrage of deep lances and atmospheric kinetic strikes. It ruptured, its core going critical in a blinding flash that briefly turned space into a miniature sun. "Strategist, the planet is hostile. Their resistance is overwhelming. We recommend immediate, unconditional retreat," a horrified aide pleaded. Xylos slammed a clawed fist onto his console. "No, this world will not defy the hegemony. Prepare the Omega Protocol, planetary vivisection. If we cannot have this world, no one can." The Omega Protocol was the hegemony's ultimate weapon, a planet-cracking device capable of shattering a world's crust and boiling its oceans. It was a last resort, reserved for the most stubborn, resource-rich targets. A deep, unsettling hum began to emanate from the Annihilation's heart. But Dr. Kevin Walsh, in his hidden data center, had anticipated this. "Admiral Vance, they're activating the Omega Protocol. Estimated charge time, 90 seconds. 90 seconds, Theron Vance roared. "All units, focus fire on the Annihilation's heart. Target primary weapon conduits. Do not let that weapon fire." Humanity responded with a ferocity born of desperation. nuclear submarines launched every remaining deep lance, their warheads modified to act as concentrated kinetic spears. Aircraft, already battered and depleted, threw themselves at the flagship, unleashing everything they had. Ground forces, seeing the terrifying glow from orbit, fired every man-portable anti-orbital weapon in their arsenal. The Annihilation's heart, already damaged by the initial assault, became the focal point of Earth's fury. Dozens of deep lances, dozens of kinetic bombs, hundreds of smaller projectiles, all slammed into its weapon conduits simultaneously. The alien ship shuddered, groaned, and then, with a deafening, planet-shaking explosion, its primary weapon core ruptured, taking the entire flagship with it. Prime Strategist Xylos's last transmission, a garbled shriek of disbelief and horror, was intercepted by every human system on Earth. They are, more than any analysis, they are unique. Do not approach this system. But the message never reached the surviving hegemony vessels. Kevin Walsh had ensured that, without their flagship, without their command, and battered beyond belief, the remnants of the eradication fleet broke formation. Some attempted desperate, uncoordinated retreats. Others, their will utterly shattered, simply powered down. Admiral Vance, Alara Rin reported, her voice thick with emotion. The hegemony fleet is in full route. Remaining vessels are attempting to jump out of system. Shall we pursue? Thuron Vance watched the shattered remnants of the alien fleet scatter, burning trails across the dark. No, he said, a grim satisfaction in his voice. Let them go. Let them carry the message. 6 months later, the rebuilt Earth buzzed with a different kind of energy. The scars of the invasion remained, but they were fading, replaced by vibrant new growth and structures built with a renewed purpose. Humanity had not just survived, it had thrived. The captured hegemony technology had provided an unimaginable leap forward. Advanced material fabrication, faster-than-light travel, potent energy manipulation, and sophisticated bioengineering. But more importantly, the invasion had forged a unity the likes of which Earth had never known. Nations, once rivals, were now partners. Their deep networks intertwined, their resources pooled. Admiral Thuron Vance, now overseeing the newly formed Unified Planetary Defense Command, stood on a reclaimed orbital platform overlooking the azure curve of Earth. Below, new shipyards hummed with activity, constructing Earth's first true star-spanning fleet. Not for conquest, but for defense, for exploration, and for a very clear statement. Admiral, we're receiving a new message, Lena Petrova reported, her voice calm and professional. It's from the Galactic Council. They request immediate diplomatic contact. They also express profound interest in our unconventional defense protocols. Thuron smiled. The hegemony's defeat had sent ripples across the entire galaxy. Their broadcast message, a stark video compiled by Dr. Walsh and his team, showed every brutal, defiant moment of Earth's retaliation. The silent deep lances, the swarm of kinetic-armed aircraft, the overwhelming ground assault, and the final, catastrophic destruction of the Annihilation's heart. It ended with a simple, chilling message, broadcast on every known galactic frequency. This is Earth. We are humanity. We are the extreme environment adaptives. We do not recommend invasion. We are united. We are adaptable. We are prepared. And we are very, very good at war. Do not test us. The galaxy had listened. Send a reply, Thuron ordered, his gaze fixed on the nascent fleet taking shape in the orbital docks. Tell the Galactic Council we are open to peaceful relations with any species that comes in peace. And as for any who do not, he paused, a glint in his eye. Tell them we are more prepared than ever before. Tell them we now have our own space to play in. Humanity, heck yeah. The alien invasion had lasted 20 minutes. The retaliation had lasted forever. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through humanity's defiance. If you loved this epic finale, Please give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling HFY stories. We want to hear from you. What was your favorite moment from the entire series? Let us know in the comments below.